Hello, everyone.
Yes, sir. How do you read, sir?
Very fast, Swapnil.
How do you
Very
read?
fast. Yeah,
How
I
do
read
you
you.
Delta Tango Sierra Whiskey Alpha?
I read you 5. I read you 5. Very good evening, everyone. A very happy Monday, a new week. I see Manan and Swapnil. Very nice to see you all. Who else is there in the class? We have Shata. Very good evening, Shata.
Good evening, sir.
Hi, Nandini. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Hello, Subhajit. How are you?
Doing good, sir. How about you, sir?
I am fine. Very happy to see my students. Thank you. We have Komal joining us. We have Likhit. Likhit, nice to see you. Hi, Komal. Good evening. We have Prateek. We have Vasant. We have Sana and Sujal. Okay. Sana, how do you read? Can you hear me properly? Okay, students, try to communicate with me so that I can know a two-way channel has been established. Prateek, I cannot hear from you. Pragya, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, sir. I'm good. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thank you. Try to see if you can turn on your camera, students, as much as you can. If there are no privacy issues, please.
1 minute, sir. Let me connect me with my headphones.
Sure. I'm just checking with a couple of students, okay? Give me a moment. Why is my video? All right. So just checking with a few students, like where are they? So today it's going to be so interesting. Today, most of y'all are starting your navigation class for the first time. Some of y'all are already students who have taken a lot of lectures. So for you, it will be like a very good revision. And some students are joining us only for revision. Well, the first session of navigation, I find to be the most interesting one because it talks about the perfect approach you need to have towards this. And what do I mean by perfect approach? So there's a strategy to study this subject, and if you can understand the strategy, then your results would always be in your favor. I'm just having some system freezing issues. So students, just to do a readability check and tell me if you can hear me properly. All stations. Mumbai control, how do you read?
Read U5 Vector Tango Sierra Whiskey Alpha.
Read U5, Victor Tango Sierra Uniform Bravo.
Radio 5, Victor Tango, Mike Alpha November.
Okay, I think you cannot hear me. 1 minute. All stations, Mumbai control, how do you read?
Read U5 Vector Tango Sierra Whiskey Alpha.
Read U5 Victor Tango Alpha Alpha Kilo.
Read 5.
Okay, students, I'm not getting any response.
Read U5 Victor Tango Papa Romeo
Okay,
Alpha.
I know what's wrong. Wait.
Radio 5, Victor Tango
I have
Alpha
received
Delta
a
Alpha.
failure on my side.
Mumbai Tower.
So I'm not sure if you are okay. So you can hear me, but I cannot hear you all. This is a classic example of receiver failure. So I know you can hear me, but I cannot hear anyone because my system, I can see the receiver or the speaker is not working. RCF, yes, that's the word. RCF.
क्या
All stations stand by. Let me just fix this issue. It's be a button, I guess. Great. All stations, mobile control. How do you read? Give me a
Radio
verbal
5,
acknowledgement.
Radio 5, Vector Tango Sierra Whiskey Alpha.
Radio 5, Victor Tango
Tango
Alpha
Victor
Alpha
Kilo
Kilo.
Delta.
Radio 5 Victor Tango Sierra Alpha November.
Radio 5, number Bravo Alpha.
Victor Tango Sierra Hotel Romeo, Mumbai Control. How do you read?
Radio 5 Victor Tango Sierra Hotel Romeo.
Victor Tango
Radio
November
5.
Alpha November, Mumbai Control. How do you read?
Radio 5 Victor Tango November Alpha November.
Okay, I think now it will work. Okay, so such aircraft also. So you need to figure out how to fix it before you go ahead with the rest of your flight. Okay, can anybody do a readability check once?
Mumbai
Radio
Control,
5,
Victor Tango
Victor Tango
Sierra.
Alpha Delta.
Mumbai Tower. Victor Tango Papa Romeo Alpha. How do you read?
Okay, class, give me a minute. Okay, let me change the microphone. Sierra Papa Alpha. Victor Tango Sierra Alpha Papa, Mumbai Control. Correction, Victor Tango Sierra Papa Alpha, Mumbai Control. How do you read?
Radio 5, Victor Tango Sierra Papa Alpha.
Great. So I think this is working. Okay. If anybody has any issue, please let me know quickly. Okay, because today's instructions are the most important instructions. Students from the ongoing navigation batch, it will be a good revision for you, and it will be a good time for you to readjust your approach. So this break period that you had was an important break that generally we keep when we progress in navigation. But for you, it was not a midterm break. For you, it was a break towards the end. All right. And so I hope you have revised enough. And today, what I'm going to discuss with everyone first will be about what is it to make the most of this journey that you're starting with CPL air navigation, how to make the most of it, and how to ensure that whenever the exams are, you will be ready. Okay. Now, talking about the syllabus. The syllabus will involve everything that is going to help you navigate from point A to point B. Okay. What does it mean? It means learning how to read and file a flight plan, because your flight plan will have all details, your speed, your altitude, your flight rules. Now, flight rules are not a part of navigation, they're part of regulations. So in navigation, only the technical aspects of your skills of navigating will be used. Now, they will have segregation in between them, like general navigation, radio navigation, and instruments. So this is how generally the navigation syllabus is divided. Now, when I say general navigation, whatever you learn under general navigation will get 50% of your weightage. Sometimes it's 40, sometimes it's 60, but 50 is the average. When I talk about general navigation, learning anything and everything in general navigation, you can fly small planes on your own. You don't need type rating, or you don't need anything else if you know general navigation. So when you're flying, when you're doing your flight training, when you start learning the aspects of flying on a Cessna or any other aircraft, when you join your flight school, what you will learn in general navigation will make you capable of designing your own flight plans and flying. It will not teach you how to control the aircraft. It will not teach you how to start the aircraft, or, it will not give you the aircraft specific details, but it will give you generic details as to what are the speed limitations during takeoff and landing. What is, how to understand the length of the runway, and how to make sure that you will be free from obstacles in the vicinity of your airport or the runway. So it will actually cover everything, including the performance of an aircraft in general. It will not talk about Cessna, it will not talk about an Airbus. It will talk about single engine and multi-engines, piston engine and jet engine. It will also talk about how do you determine the position of your departure and the position of your arrival in numbers. Okay. And then how do you fly from this point in numbers to the next point in numbers within the specified time, the specified fuel, and the specified speed, and all other limitations. So in navigation, you'll also learn about the fueling of an aircraft with respect to the mass and balance, as we call it. Now, students who have already learned mass and balance, this is the time for you to go through all the important points that you have learned to make the most of this session. Okay. So you will learn about how to take care of the mass and balance of the aircraft before you depart, before you land. You will learn about the length of the runway. How do you determine if my length is enough? You will learn about which are the speeds that will make sure my takeoff is within limits and my landing is within limits. Then you will see how to read all these values by looking at different types of instruments. Now, what are these instruments? These instruments will tell you about your altitude, your airspeed, your rate of climb, and then your directions. Now, what are these directions? These directions are what will help you clear your exams if you can master them. The first thing when you start learning navigation. Now, students who have attended a few RT lectures also, they know about directions. Today, we will see the different directions and how to solve those different directions. So this will include your first mathematical calculation for your navigation. In navigation for CPL ground studies and ATPL ground studies, you are allowed to use calculators. One is a scientific calc and the other is a navigation computer. That makes your job much more easier. Pass the examinations. Today we are not going to see what those calces look like, but it is advised that you sit with those calces from next lecture onwards for your navigation. You don't really have to purchase the navigation computer now. I'll share a link. You can use the software version of it and practice, and then you can get yourself those navigation computers in future, in some time after you're proficient. But it is good to have a scientific calci. You can use your mobile phone calcis also, you can use your computer calcis also right now to practice in class. But none of the calculations that you make should be without the calculus. So see, this is an advantage. You're allowed to use calculus. You don't have to depend upon your mental math. Generally, we advise against using your mental math because that leaves rooms for errors in calculations. So you must be like, sir, what is this? You just started talking and we don't know what are we doing here today. What are we doing? This is the question you should always ask yourself when you are in an aircraft. What are you doing in an aircraft? You're flying the aircraft. Why do you need to fly the aircraft? To transport a payload from point A to point B. Right now, what are you doing in this session? You are learning how to safely travel from point A to point B. Because navigation means safely traveling from point A to point B. And why are you traveling? To transport your payload. What is this payload? You're paying passengers and you're paying cargo. They are your payload. And this is an important definition in your mass and balance topic also. So what are you doing here today? Although you're not in the cockpit right now, you are actually learning about executing this navigation aspect, how to safely navigate from point A to point B. This is the importance of the subject. And that's why it gets a little difficult because students who have not flown will not be able to relate what's going on in theory. And that's why it is very important that your approach to study is directly hands-on with practical examples. So every time you're learning something, I will put you in the cockpit seat, and for you to feel that, you have to imagine focusing on what I'm asking you. It will make your job much more easier. And although you'll not be in the aircraft, the first day when you go for your flight training, all this will come back to you and you'll send me a message saying, sir, whatever you thought is working for me very well in your first hour of your flight training. And that is what will separate you from other students. And you'll feel that you already know a lot. Because what we are going to do, we are not only going to help you pass the exams, you'll actually learn navigation. And when you learn navigation, it's like general knowledge. No matter which exams you give, you'll pass these exams. And I have seen students who have not finished 100% syllabus also, who have finished 70-80% syllabus, still they pass in their first attempts. Because they are aware about this logical approach that I'm talking about right now. If it is in your logic, if you know how to use the navigation computer, it's enough to easily score 50 and 60 on any paper, even after first 10 sessions in navigation. So you don't need to take load about a huge load about the subject. You need to think that it is going to be the easiest subject of all subjects. And it is going to teach me about a lot of important topics. So it doesn't mean the syllabus is vast. It means the knowledge that you're going to gain is vast. See the approach, it changes completely. So I'm going to master the cockpit. What is the cockpit? Cockpit is the place where the pilot sits and controls the aircraft. To control the aircraft, you need control column, control sticks. That you will learn in technical. But how to understand where the aircraft is, what the aircraft is doing, what are the performance limitations? Is the aircraft performing as per the limitations? You need to know how to read the instruments. And sometimes the instruments can cause errors. So you need to know how those errors happen in the instruments so that you're not a stranger to those errors and you don't make wrong decisions if there's an error in the instrument. Now, these instruments are two types of instruments: radio navigation instruments and gyroscopic instruments. You can also call them gyroscopic instruments. Then there is another third type of instruments, that's radio navigation instruments. like we discussed in RT sessions, ILS, radars, VOR, they all help you with your directions, approach, range, while air data instruments help you with your aircraft speed, aircraft altitude. And gyros help you keep your aircraft straight and balanced. So everything has an important aspect that is like a piece of puzzle that is important to complete the picture. Okay, but before you get into all that, you need to understand where you are navigating. Where do you think you'll be navigating? You'll be navigating in the sky or in the atmosphere, and the atmosphere is a part of the Earth. So you need to master Earth and the understanding of Earth. Now for you, it will be very easy to directly look at this. This is the globe we call as the Earth. Okay. This is very important. This is what you will be circumnavigating in your whole life. As you grow ahead in life, you don't know which countries you'll be flying across. This is the Earth, and let me reduce the brightness so you can observe it. This is the Earth. This is the North Pole on top of it, and this is the South Pole. It is very important that you understand going towards north is known as the northern direction. Going towards south is known as the southern direction. And it's also important to know that the Earth rotates in the direction called east. Okay, and this is east. And the direction of Earth's rotation is actually the easterly direction. Any direction opposite to east is west. These are the 4 cardinal points. And then when you understand the Earth, you learn about the shape of the Earth. This Earth right now on your screens that you can see looks like a perfect sphere. All your navigation calculations, you have to assume the Earth to be a perfect sphere. But in reality, the Earth is not a perfect sphere. The Earth is defined as an oblate spheroid. Now, what is an oblate spheroid? It is an unfinished sphere with improper dimensions. A sphere has a perfect dimension, perfect diameter, perfect radius. So you need to know what is a radius, what is a diameter. Once you know about the shape of the Earth, then you know about how do I number the places. And the numbering of the places is done with the system known as gratitude, which is latitudes and longitudes. Now we all have somewhere heard about latitudes and longitudes. So how did that come into origin? And what is the latitude and longitude of your place? And how can you determine the shortest distance between your place and my place if you have to bring down your plane to attend a class? It will be the departure point, I'll be the destination point. And using those 2 numbers, in terms of latitudes and longitudes for your place and latitudes and longitudes of my place, using certain formulas, you can determine the shortest distance so that you can save time and fuel, and you can determine the directions to fly. When you can determine the directions and the shortest distance, your flight that you're going to fly or execute becomes real. And this is done on a daily basis in real life also. If there is a flight being held by Air India from Mumbai to Delhi, the flight dispatchers and the planning and everyone, they do the same thing. They use these formulas, find out the lat long for Mumbai, lat long, that is latitude longitude for Delhi, use the formula, find the shortest distance and the directions for the shortest distance. Then they plan everything along that direction. And you won't, it is not a big surprise. All these directions are mainly your ATS routes. So all your ATS routes are designed in such a way using these formulas that the distance between the 2 points will be the shortest distance. How do you derive the shortest distance on the Earth? All this is the foundation of your general navigation when we talk about navigation and Earth. Students who have already attended these sessions, think, can you answer all these questions? If yes, wonderful. If no, time for you to revise and go through your notes. Students who have been attending on and off, maybe something is coming to you, something is not. Good, go through the notes. And students who are joining us for the first time, attending for the first time, or taking the class for revision, for you, everything is fresh. Take your time. Initially, it can get overwhelming, positively, like, oh, there is so much. What is sir talking about? But after first couple of sessions, you'll be like, wow, I know so much already. So you cannot learn English without knowing what the alphabet is, A, B, C, D. You cannot make words without knowing what are vowels. Correct? You cannot speak English without you know how to spell A, B, C, D, and so on. Similarly, there are a few elements in navigation as a subject. If you understand those elements, you will never forget what you're learning. And within the first 10 to 15 sessions, I'll be confident that you are ready to clear the exams, although you will not know that till then. And that is the difference in my strategy to teach you navigation and all the other textbooks that we have. Talking about our strategies, we are very fluidic with the way we teach. It's not like we'll follow the same pace everywhere in every session. So you'll be given notes in the class, and chapter-wise and lecture-wise, important notes will be shared with you. Those will be more than enough for you to prepare with for the exams. So there is no particular textbook that is going to be shared with you, but consolidated notes. It doesn't mean you will not go through textbooks that you already have. The more you read, the better it is. Okay, so the notes in short will be given to you, all that you need. And after some time that you have studied a few concepts, you will be subjected to online tests where the passing would be 70, but I would ask you to aim for an 80 or 90. Okay. So initially, it will tell us whether the way I'm teaching and the way you are learning is working for you or not. After that, you will know the areas of improvement. Simple as that. Okay, you need to understand it's a very challenging topic, but it is the easiest of all subjects because you don't need to memorize much. You just need to know. That's it. Okay, so let's see. Anybody has any random questions before we actually start learning a few topics? And I want you to be honest if you understood anything that I said right now or not. So,
Sir, your video is going off the track.
what's going off the track? Say again.
Sir, your video is going off the track. You're speaking first, then your video is moving.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing it to my notice. Let me try something. Victor Tango Alpha Charlie Delta. But were you able to understand what I was instructing?
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Good, we didn't need much of the video right now because I was not giving the notes. Otherwise, it would have been a little difficult. But students, concentration on focus. It has to be a conscious effort. Simple. It's good. Generally, when students don't have questions, most of the times it is because they're focused enough to listen to everything. I hope the video doesn't give us much problem.
No, sir, it's okay.
Yeah, it happens sometimes. It's one of the only bad things about learning online. Sometimes the network will give us issues.
Yeah, it's all right, sir.
Yeah, please share your views, everyone. Students who have already learned so much, students who are learning for the first time, make it two-way, come on. It is the only time when you will not know anything about navigation. Now that you already know the approach and the topics you're going to learn, share and ask.
Sir, we will be studying with Oxford book.
Yes, most of the times, all the references that we do will be with respect to Oxford, because Oxford is a collection of all the important textbooks that are there.
So that is for ATPL also, I heard about it.
Everything that you learn in CPL is valid for your ATPL also. The difference between CPL and ATPL is around 10% only. 10% of the topics are not a part of CPL. Rest everything is a part of CPL.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So remember that, everyone. So the problem with most of the textbooks is the language. So I would never ask you to read anything before I have given you a lecture on that. Once I give a lecture on something, after that you will see reading any textbook that I suggest will make a lot of sense to you. So let me greet others who joined a little late before I could not greet them. So Nehal, good evening. Nice to see you back.
Yes, sir.
Viral, how are you? Nice to see you. Viral, your voice is not reaching me. Video one.
Radio 5, sir.
Yeah, Nehal, I can hear you. Viral, I cannot hear you. Your voice is not coming.
Hello,
Yes, Viral.
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
Good, good, good. I'm fine. Nice to have you. After such a long time, I think you are finally ready.
Yeah, 2 months.
Just 2 months? I thought it was longer than that.
2 months.
Well, it's not too much. Good. Pragya, is your call sign Victor Tango Alpha Charlie Delta?
Yes, sir.
Good, good, good. Pragya, I know you'll have a lot of questions. Feel free to ask, clarify. Okay, I want you to go with the flow and the process. Okay.
Sure,
Even
sir.
though you will be learning only few topics, I would want you to have the same approach as everybody else, right?
Sure, sir, sure.
Vasant, how do you read me? I cannot see you. I hope you can hear me. So Sana from RT batch, nice to see you. And we have one more Sana in the class today. Sana, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Good to have you in class.
Thank you.
Yes. So Sana and Vasant, please assign a call signs to yourselves. Victor, Tango, VT, and 3 letters of your choice. And Sana, you cannot take Sierra Alpha November because Sana has already taken it. Samuel, how do you read?
5, sir.
Great, Samuel. Try to put your cameras on, students, whoever doesn't have any privacy issues. Adarsh, how do you read?
Radio 5, sir.
Great to see you, others. Sorry to have made you wait for so long, but we are finally here officially.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Sankar, nice to see you in person. How do you read?
So radio 5, sir.
Great, I read you 5 too. Dinesh, nice to see you. Sujal, I cannot see you. Dinesh, I cannot see you. But that is okay. Good. Good. No questions, anyone? No questions. Good. Subhojit, do you have anything to ask?
Victor Tango Delta India November.
Yes, Victor Tango Delta India November. Go ahead.
Sir, is Oxford is recommendable for this subject, sir? Air navigation book.
Yes. Yes. Of course. Oxford is one of the best books. Okay.
Form, sir.
Okay, one more instruction. Do not rush with navigation, okay? Be very patient and calm. Do not rush. Right now I can see the awkward silence. I understood everybody is like, sir, why are you wasting time? Why are you not teaching something? If anybody is thinking like that, please, let's relax. There will be times when you will be overburdened. So your wish will come true and you'll be like, sir, please, let us go. But in the start, we'll take it slow till the time I'm confident about it. Anas and Likith, how do you feel about it? How's it going on for you?
That's good, sir.
Good. Anas, nice to see you. Don't worry about anything. Just learn as much as you can. Simple. Okay. Generally, I don't ask for anything from my students, but it is compulsory for you all to talk to me when I'm asking you all to talk to me, okay? Compulsory. Even then, if you don't talk, then I'll be laughing at myself. Don't make me laugh at myself. Come on. Manan, do you have anything to ask?
Negative.
Viral, you must have questions.
Time it will take to complete this navigation. Whole syllabus.
Busy man. Yes. It can take us time anywhere between to finish navigation between 45 days to 3 months in general. But depending upon your own pace, it could take you 6 months also in case you get occupied with something else and cannot attend sessions. Okay. Anything can happen, but it is possible to finish navigation in 1 month also if we do everyday sessions. And we have done that for few students in the past. On an average, 2 months is also good enough. Get an idea about how it's going to be. We'll try to make sure if we're starting today and we consider this to be the first session of a new batch, then it should be done in less than 2 months, or maybe a little lesser than that. Give and take 15 days, or maybe 45 days also. It depends upon your flow, how well you perform, and what creative ideas I keep getting depending upon your performance to improve it in terms of quality and reduce time. Because we're not going to compromise no matter what. Yeah, Nehal, you have a question?
Sir, have you ever faced motion sickness in your flight training days?
No, it doesn't happen much, not to me.
Okay.
Nobody, no, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Some people feel it, but you should eat after your flight training, so it won't happen.
Okay. Because I felt that When I had my first flight with my instructor. So basically, it was an introductory flight.
Was it too
For
bad?
not too bad, but yeah, I felt like some dizziness.
It is natural. Your body will get used to it.
Okay.
For me, earlier in early days, just looking at the ground from higher altitude used to give me dizziness. But then
Okay.
I was so afraid the first time. I was like, can I ever do it? I'm afraid of heights. Oh my God, I didn't know that. But then the second time I was high enough. I didn't feel that fear. So it goes away naturally.
Okay.
You just need to be confident that you can do it. I have students telling me, sir, I cannot land the plane properly. The strength on my wrist is too much. The aircraft is too heavy for me. And similar challenges you'll keep on facing. But there are ways to work around them, and then you get used to them. So it's like that.
Okay.
Flying an
So
airplane is the easiest thing, students. Yeah, Nehal?
Yeah. So is there anything like we shouldn't eating before flight or like that?
No, I mean, I just said it in a fun way. It really helps. Of course, it helps, but you need some food before you go to have that energy and help your brain work to its optimum level. So you cannot be hungry completely.
Okay.
So it's good to have a protein-rich diet, of course. As you become aviation professionals, you'll learn the importance of diet and sleep and physical fitness. And yeah, so when we are not flying, we eat anything and everything. And when we have to fly, we don't eat much apart from what is necessary for the body.
Affirm, sir.
Good, good. Nehal, thank you for breaking the ice. I feel better now. Students, you can talk about anything and everything, okay? It has to be fun. It does not have to be like somebody speaking for 2-3 hours and by the end of the time you're like, what's happening with my life? Okay, Swapnil, your question will be answered later. I'll share all those information with you in person. So today I'm going to tell you what is navigation. This is something that ideally you will read in a couple of books if you're fortunate enough to come across. Otherwise, nobody will say that. People will simply start with technical points, this and that. But I believe in your first session, when we talk about introduction to navigation, it is very important that you understand these points and write them. It will help build a strong approach. So what is navigation, right? The first point that we can talk about is that navigation is the art of guiding an aircraft from one place to another. All the dedicated pilots that you will come across, when you talk to them about flying, they'll say it's all about the feel. And the word, when I say feel, is an actual aviation term. You will come across this term when you do higher aerodynamic studies. Okay. And this feel is all about your physical inputs in the aircraft and the performance of the aircraft. The airplane eventually becomes an extension of your body, whichever plane you're mastering. And it is very important for you to think of an airplane like that. It really makes you very natural in flying and you understand everything. Okay. If you face a sudden gust of wind, automatically your hands will guide the control column to counter that effect of a crosswind. Thus, the word art is used here because every person flies differently. Some people fly more beautifully than others. It all depends upon how you have understood flight during your flight training phases. Whatever you will be learning here in theory will keep you safe and will keep you from getting lost in air. Simple as that. That is also very important. If you know how to fly, but you don't know how how long can you fly without running out of fuel, then although you'll be the best pilot, but without fuel, you cannot do anything about that situation. Without fuel, without engine power, nobody can control the airplane. Only few airplanes can be controlled like that. What is another definition of navigation? Fixing, and I'm highlighting the word fix. Okay, it is fixing aircraft position while in air as and when required. Now this fixing, FIX, comes through a very important navigation term known as position fix. It is very important for you to determine your position anytime during flight. You have to be able to answer this question. Hey, Captain, where are you right now? If you don't know the answer to that question, you are not a good navigator. And if you can say, okay, give me a second, work out some math here and there, looking at the instruments and determine your position, that makes you a good navigator. How do you know? There will always be certain visual references. You will always know your altitude approximately, if not a fixed altitude. You will always know your speed. Depending upon the speed, distance, time formula, you will be able to determine your position. And of course, you need to know directions also. Okay, so I departed from my place an hour ago, and since then I have been flying at 120 knots. It's been an hour, and I've been flying in easterly direction. So I am approximately 120 nautical miles east of my departure. See, so easy to determine your position. You have certain reference, right? Then you can say my compass, my navigation instrument is showing me this heading that will determine further what direction you're flying in. That's it. That much information is enough to determine your position. How do I know this so easily? The general navigation. Speed, distance, time is a part of general navigation. What is the third element? How does the pilot guide the aircraft from one place to another or fix his or her position in air? We say the pilot or the navigator. In older airplanes, pilot's job was to fly the airplane while a separate person sitting either in the cockpit or a place below the cockpit, a separate unit. And the duty of that person was to help the pilots into navigating the aircraft. And he was known as the navigator. One of my instructors when I was learning, he was the navigator for Indian Air Force before he took a premature retirement to get into commercial aviation. Now the requirement for navigators is reduced. It's only there in older planes. You don't need it in commercial airplanes. Your pilots do the job of navigators. Okay, that's why the word the pilot or the navigator is assisted, okay, by a set of instruments that indicate height, speed, and direction of the aircraft in air. Now you see height, speed, and direction. These three are enough for you to fulfill your basic navigating requirements. So you need to understand this is the trick here, this is the technique. Anything in your syllabus that will talk about height or altitude, speed, and directions, you have to master those three things. So the topic on directions, you have to master that. The topic on airspeed indicator, you have to master that. The topic of altimeter, you have to master that. So height will be denoted by an instrument known as altimeter. And altimeter is an air data instrument. So you need to master all air data instruments. You need to master the understanding of air as an atmosphere. It will mean mastering pressure, density. See, now you're in a second, you're taking a deeper dive in the subject. In a second. Yeah, Victor Tango Alpha Charlie Delta. You have any question?
No, sir. No, sir. Sorry, it was my mistake.
No issues. How about speed? Speed is given to you through air speed indicator. A very fascinating topic to learn. What is an airspeed indicator? It is also an air data instrument. So two of the most important instruments, they sense air around the aircraft. So you need to know basics about atmosphere and what are the sensing elements and what will happen if those sensing elements are not working properly. They will give you a wrong reading of your airspeed. They will give you a wrong reading of your altitude. And when I talk about direction, the first and the most important instrument for direction is your magnetic compass. When you take a compass and read directly from it, it is known as DR compass, that is direct reading compass. And if you have a compass that has the magnet sensing element elsewhere, and from there the reading is transferred to the cockpit, it is known as RR compass, that is remote reading compass. Now, apart from magnetic compass, you have RMI, which is radiomagnetic compass, a radiomagnetic indicator. It has both the properties of a magnetic compass and radio instruments to help you with direction finding. So you see, you have to master these: altimeter, airspeed indicator, magnetic compass, and RMI. 20 to 30 questions will come on these topics only. Imagine out of 100. It could be 15, it could be 35, it could be 20. But on an average, these should be your hot points or hotspots.
So
And
this,
yeah, please go ahead.
so this RMI is in radio navigation, right?
Yes. Wherever you see word radio, it will become a part of radio navigation when you have to compare your syllabus.
Okay, sir. And sir, what about this direct reading and remote reading?
Compass is a part of instruments also and general navigation also both.
Okay.
So it is good to learn compass together with the same, because when it comes to instruments, there are errors like acceleration, deceleration, and turning errors. Vivek, Nandini, Sujal, Does it ring bells?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And when we talk about general navigation, we only talk about true direction, magnetic direction, variation, deviation. It's like that. Then we have certain observational instruments. Now, what do you mean by observational instruments? These are instruments that you have to observe on a timely basis to understand the performance of an aircraft. Altimeter is not just an observational instrument. It actually measures the altitude of the aircraft and shows that. Airspeed indicator is not just an observational instrument. It actually measures the speed of the aircraft in air and shows that. Okay. So there are certain other instruments that help us observe other parameters of the aircraft. Obviously, if they are helping us observe, they are measuring something of the other. Victor Tango Sierra Uniform Bravo, are you following?
Affirm, sir.
So observational instruments, they help determine progress and position. Progress as in every flight is a mission, and how much of this mission have you completed in a safe manner? That is progress. Have you completed the flight 100%? If yes, then it would mean you are at the destination and the parking bay, parked the aircraft, turned off the engines, and the passengers have disembarked. So there are observation instruments that will help determine the progress and position. Now, one of the most important elements. Progress, along with progress, it is position of aircraft relative to the ground. Most of your radio instruments help determine the position of the aircraft related to ground stations. ADF, VDF, VOR. Then you have radars. Talking about progress, there's no such specific instrument that will tell you how much of flight you have completed. It is a combined interpretation of different aspects of different instruments that you have to figure out on your own. There are no such instruments that will tell you your flight is 50% completed or 80% completed. No. That you have to do mentally in your head through a different set of instruments. Of course, all the aircrafts are fitted with GPS these days. So if you have that, then that will show you where you are. Just like you do GPS in daily life, cabs and here and there. You have to understand this important point, the fifth point, okay, that your aircraft becomes very free in air. And air around aircraft keeps moving, for which pilot needs to take action to not get drifted away. Now, when I say drifted away, here is a keyword, drift. One of the most important things that you will learn will be to understand drift and how to make sure you're not drifted away and how to come back to your required track. So here, whenever I talk about drift, you'll come across terms like RT, which will be required track, TEA, that will be track, error, angle, TMG, that will be track, made, good, HDG, that is heading, CA, that is cruising angle, drift, allowable drift. This again is a set of terms that you'll have to master, something that you have never seen before. You have to master this completely. One important point today that I'm teaching you about navigation is in this 6th point. Okay, and this is aircraft doesn't always travel the way in which it is heading. A very important point. Now I'm going to show you what heading is, okay? Say this is an aircraft. Okay, and this is the longitudinal axis of the aircraft. Let's just make a better, more accurate version of it. A longitudinal axis is an imaginary line passing through the nose of the aircraft to the tail of the aircraft. Okay, and it is one of the most important axes. It's an axis actually about which all the aircraft performance characteristics are designed by all engineers while the aircraft is in the design phase. So the direction in which the longitudinal axis points is known as the heading of the aircraft. One of the most important terms for you to understand right away. Heading is the direction in which the nose or the longitudinal axis of the aircraft points. Please write it down. If you want to master radio navigation, you need to know what heading is. If you want to master general navigation, you need to know what heading is. If you need to master reading your instruments properly, you need to know what heading is. So heading is one of those gases like oxygen that you need for life. Or heading is like salt in your food. Heading, what is heading? Direction in which nose or the longitudinal axis of the aircraft points. When I say nose or the longitudinal axis, they both are the same. What is the longitudinal axis? This is the longitudinal axis. Similar to longitudinal axis, you have two more axes. One is the lateral axis, like this. Okay. And one is the vertical axis going through the point of meeting for all the three axes going vertically in your aircraft. So this is the heading of the aircraft. And This is the direction in which the nose is pointing. What is the best way to understand direction, students? You make a cardinal point symbol, north, east, south, west. Give them the numbers 0, 0, 0 for north, 0, 9, 0 for east, 1, 8, 0 for south, and 2, 7, 0 for west. Now, what is the heading of this aircraft? The heading of this aircraft, draw a parallel line from the center of the cardinal points. A line parallel to your aircraft heading. This. So this where the scale is the heading of your aircraft. Similarly, make a parallel line in your cardinal points. This looks like approximately 50, 050, or maybe 060. Because clockwise from north, you go down, this is 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270, and 360. So this here angle, if I calculate the angle, this angle would be 60 degrees. This is how roughly you can determine the most accurate magnetic heading of your aircraft. And here I realized the heading of my aircraft is 060 magnetic. This is how I write it. 3 digits. Okay. What is the definition now? The aircraft doesn't always travel the way in which it is heading. It means maybe because of certain wind effect, although this is my heading, my aircraft might be traveling in this direction. And this red direction becomes your actual track. There are many terms given to actual track. Right now, it's just for your understanding. So when I draw this, it means that this aircraft, although is heading 060 magnetic, it is actually flying on this track. And what is the value of this track? You make a parallel line of this track on your cardinal points, and you get it is lesser than 060. Why? Because this angle is a smaller angle right now compared to the earlier angle, the heading of the aircraft. Probably this angle is just 045. So my actual track that my aircraft is keeping is 045 magnetic. So my plane is tracking 045 in terms of direction, while the heading of my aircraft is 060. And it happens because of crosswinds. So in order for this to have happened to my aircraft, there could be 2 reasons. It depends whether the pilot has adjusted for the drift or not. If right now the pilot has not adjusted for the drift, then what will happen? Right now my aircraft is at this point. Later on my aircraft will be deviating to the right from the actual track. So it is very important for you to know whether the track to maintain, that is the required track, is that required track equal to your actual track? So when I say that, it means you have to master directions because your tracks to maintain are nothing but directions. This is something that you will learn on a very, very independent set of lectures, a different topic that will cover all elements based upon the heading, the required track, the correction angles, the closing angles, allowed drift, deviated, this and that. Okay, but you need to understand this is what you're going to do right now. There are chances that the pilot has to maintain 045, which is their required track. And because of crosswind, they have to ensure the heading is 060 so that they can be on a required track of 045. Okay. This is a part of the art and science of general navigation. Right now, because you're just learning on a paper and with a paper and a pen, it will get difficult for you to imagine. But I'll make it very easy for you. Now, again, Vivek, Nandini, Sujal, do you think you have mastered these points? Do you think there is any confusion when I've just brought this topic upon you? How do you feel? Give me a status report.
No, sir, no confusion.
You feel confidence in this, Vivek?
Yes, sir.
How about you, Nandini?
No confusion.
Feel confident about everything that there is to do? How about you, Sujal?
Yes, sir. Getting it, sir.
So what, there are 6 formulas, sorry, 6 plus minus formulas, then there's 1/60 formulas, right? Everything should come to your mind. Good. Okay, so there is, what I'm telling you right now is basically going to cover all that you're going to study in this journey of navigation. Okay. Let's take a breather, short breather. We have questions. Is there any other requirement for a pilot to be a navigator or just CPL? CPL covers everything to become a good navigator. No other requirement necessary. Magnetic heading is taken with respect to magnetic direction. Yes. Magnetic directions, true directions, compass directions. There are 3 types of directions. You will learn that when we start doing directions. Okay. Relax, everyone. Give time to soak in as to embrace what we have learned so far. See if there is any question that you want to ask. If you start good, you will succeed quickly. That's my belief, basically. That's what gives you quality. What is magnetic heading? Heading measured with respect to magnetic north. So the cardinal points that I made, you must have observed the directions that I have measured are with respect to north. 045 clockwise measurement of the direction 060. This north I have assumed to be magnetic north. Magnetic north of the earth is the earth's natural north. Okay. And that north is tilted towards the sun, just like this globe is tilted right now. I'll show you one more interesting thing, that this scale here represents the inclination of the Earth's actual axis of rotation towards the sun. And the tilt angle, we call this the tilt angle, that is 23.5 degrees towards the sun. And this north here is the magnetic north of the Earth, the natural north of the Earth. And the position of this magnetic north keeps changing. It is not fixed. So it is not reliable to draw charts taking magnetic north in consideration, because the magnetic north can be changed, can change anytime. So what we have done is we have taken a straight axis on paper for Earth, okay, and we have pointed out a true north, a fixed position on Earth where we have planted a flag, and the longitude, latitude has been determined 00 degrees north. That is true direction. And whenever your magnetic north changes, we measure the change with respect to this true north, whether the magnetic north is 5 degrees east of true north or 5 degrees west of true north, or any number of degrees. This difference in magnetic north and true north is known as variation. And this is something which is very easy to learn and master. So what is variation? It is the difference between the magnetic north and the true north. What is true north? True north is the fixed north. What is magnetic north? It's the real north or the actual north that keeps changing its position. You will learn this again and again when we do a proper topic on it. But right now, if you can learn it, 5% of your navigation studies will be done in this session. So any direction measured with magnetic north becomes magnetic direction, or any heading measured with magnetic north becomes magnetic heading. Any track measured with magnetic north becomes magnetic track. And if you're doing the same measurements with respect to true north, then those values become true. True heading will be heading measured with respect to true north. True track will be track measured with respect to true north. And true direction will be the direction measured with respect to true north. Is everybody following?
Can you give a gist of RMI once more?
See, RMI has a magnetic compass, okay, a magnetic card, and it senses radio signals from ground stations. Mostly an RMI will sense from a VOR, and it will point towards the direction of the VOR to which it is tuned, so that you can determine your position in air with respect to a ground station in which you are tuned, or to which you are tuned. That's the basis of determining the position, vertical and horizontal, in terms of direction and in terms of distance. So your RMI shows you your heading also, and it is possible to check with respect to any ground station where you are. This much is enough for your first session to know about RMI. But Alpha, Charlie, Delta, whether that makes sense to you or not, you have to give me an acknowledgement.
It makes sense.
It's like every topic in navigation has a code, a key, a secret passcode. If you understand that, you'll never be wrong about any question asked. All this I shared with experience. Okay? Every time when we start a new session or a new batch, you get to learn more than the previous batch. Because every time that I'm teaching a topic, I learn more ways to teach it in a better way. I learn more techniques, more codes to crack. That's why I invite all my students to attend any lecture, even if they have attended it before, because there are chances they might learn something new. That's why we don't prefer going through one particular PPT, because it keeps changing. If we make one training manual and one PPT, then we'll not have the room to improve. That's what happens. I know you guys are students, but I consider you all to be partners in this, not just little kids who are, paying fees and learning something, but I understand it's a career and you're partners and I'm here to assist you. So I treat you as adults here. So I talk about things. If you don't understand them now, it's okay. In couple of months later, you'll be able to understand all these things, and it will keep you ahead in the competition when you're out in the field. So one more thing we can write in these points about what is navigation, that visibility in air is restricted to only a few miles. Which you cannot see far off than a certain limitation. The visibility will be impacted by weather phenomena also, the presence of clouds also, rain. Okay. A pilot needs to have careful attention to keep a reliable check on the position of the aircraft. Now this is It's basically like crossing the road by looking on the right and the left. Simple as that. Here, you have to ensure that you're constantly checking all your parameters every 2 minutes, every 5 minutes, every minute, as and when you can. But that will not happen in your navigation examinations. It is something that you'll only experience when you're in the cockpit. What you learn in navigation as a subject is how to read and interpret in these different instruments that you'll observe in a timely manner when you're in the cockpit. And how do these instruments work? The principles behind them and how to read them. So everything will carry a principle, how to understand, and then whatever they are measuring, is it your altitude, your airspeed, how are they measuring, and what can go wrong during the measurement. This you'll learn about all instruments. This you'll learn about magnets, magnetic compass, ASI, altimeter, VSI, gyro instruments, radio instruments. So that gives you an approach that no matter what topic you're studying, you'll study with respect to the interpretation, that is the instrument, the principle, the measuring elements, and all the errors. That's it. So that is a common thing. It's like how you want to buy a phone. What do? RAM, storage, camera. No matter which company, right? Just like that. No matter what system you're learning, no matter what instrument you're learning, you need to know the principle, you need to know the construction, the measuring elements or sensing elements, the errors, and how to read the instrument. That's it. I'll just give you a couple of points and then we'll be done for today's session. So I'm sorry I'm stealing your time away from break. We'll just finish it in 10 minutes and then we'll be done with the session. Okay, so no in between break today because we're not going to stretch it. Important point. See, this is a one-time thing. I'm not going to ask these questions to you. And these questions are seldom asked in examination also. But it is important to understand these points. So this is your chance to understand these points and put it in the vault of your permanent memory. Okay? How to become a good navigator. Because this is something extra that you're getting out of this. All right? A pilot has to, okay, what, again, the same question. What is it that the pilot does? So a pilot has to, number one, fly the aircraft. So this is totally mastering the technical aspects of your airplane. Then the pilot has to check the performance of the aircraft, whether my aircraft is performing within limits or not. It is so much, it is so demanding, the process of flying and checking the performance, that you have to be alert. You have to be so alert every passing second, every passing second. You'll see pilots keep repeat. You must have seen videos and recordings. Pilots keep repeating stuff back to back, pilots and co-pilots, pilots and co-pilots. Why? They are checking and rechecking the performance of the aircraft. Simple as that. But it is easy. It is not difficult. And last thing that a pilot has to do is know. And this no position, this third important aspect of what a pilot has to do is what your navigation is all about. Samuel, are you following?
Yes, sir.
Anybody who is getting bored, okay, don't let the boredom creep in, okay? You have to break this point or barrier where you reach 1 hour in the session or 1 hour and a half in the session and start losing your focus. Okay, if that happens, you have to share that with me and we'll work out certain strategies. Generally, you know, we will only conduct 50 minutes at a stretch, then give you 5 to 10 minutes break and continue the session. Right? Today, we are just stretching the time a little bit. It will really build more stamina in you, although your performance will be less, will be requiring you to attend lesser than today's session. Okay, so do not let lethargy creep over. If that happens, you can request for a break, but you can go watch the rest of the session. The recordings will be given to you, but you have to be very chilled about it, very relaxed about it, and very confident about it. Okay, great. So remember, you have to fly, you have to check performance, and you have to know your position. To know position, a good pilot has to keep asking these questions. What are these questions? Where am I? You should always ask this question and you should always know the answer to this question. Where am I? The day you don't know where you are, it could become a distress or an urgency situation, mayday or a pan-pan. Second most important question. Why am I here? Okay, so you're determined where you are. You need to know why are you there. You will say I'm here because it was an important checkpoint on my route. That makes sense. Great. If you say I'm here because I don't know why, I should not have been here, it will tell you you have lost your way. Simple as that. The moment you realize you have lost your way, quickly get in touch with ATC and tell them to help you come back on track. Because you don't know how far you are away from your track and how much fuel you have to get back. Next, third important question is, what should I do next? If you know where you are and why you are, you know what to do next. Just proceed as per your flight plan. If you don't know where you are and you don't know why, you will know why when you don't know where you are. It will mean that you're lost. So first question, where am I? I don't know. Then why am I here? Because I'm lost. So what should I do next? Take help from ATC to come back on track. These points are helping you take quick decisions without creating panic. Now again, this will not be asked to you in your navigation exam, but don't think it's a waste of your time. If you have this maturity, you will easily dominate the subject and clear exams in your first attempt. Getting it, everyone? The purpose of doing this, the purpose of understanding this. Eventually, you have to learn this. In my eyes, you're already pilots. Not just clearing exams, but learning everything that there is. So, what's the purpose of these questions? After these questions and necessary corrections, pilot can accomplish objectives of a good navigator. Like I said, these are the founding elements. That's it, nothing else. And all that you learn in CPL air navigation syllabus is general knowledge. And if this general knowledge you can master, in future when you're going to do type rating, preparing to fly jetliners, Airbus, Boeing, ATR, it will be so easy for you to master those subjects. And whenever you're going for a job, the first thing would be an airline test, a written test. All that you're learning in your ground papers will be asked to you in that test. If you clear that test, only then they will take you in the second and the third rounds of the interview session. So you cannot reduce the emphasis of the importance of your ground subjects or the knowledge. Not just clearing this paper now. You will require this for your ATPL exams also. You will require this for your airline entry exams also. So the best way to learn right now is being given out to you. All you have to do is just keep learning and keep giving feedback as to whether you think you're learning or not. That is more important than me delivering lectures, or equally important. Write this point down and make sure in the initial few lectures you remember this point. Navigation requires practice for perfection. You cannot just attend the lectures and not revise and not practice in your free time. You have to attend the lectures and practice and revise simultaneously. If you don't do that, you will, I know you will pass, but still you will struggle between 60 and 70 in your exams if you don't revise. I'm being honest. But I don't talk negative stuff because I know my students will always pass. But I'm just saying, I want to scare you. If you revise timely, before your exams, you won't have to even look at the book. You'll be so confident. And this is not just theory navigation. This is real life navigation. Practice, practice, practice. That's why your flying schools require, or the regulatory requirement is 200 hours, 250 hours minimum. It's for practice. Last 2 points. Navigator has to be vigilant. Of course, you all are. Sound knowledge. When I say sound, it means apt, optimum knowledge of theory of navigation is sufficient to cover the requirements of any particular flight. It is not something that I am saying. It is something that all the prominent figures in aviation who have passed down the knowledge to us have said. The best part about aviation papers, ground papers, is that whatever you learn is 100% applicable to your industry. Okay, class? Enjoy. It will be fun. It will be interesting. All the calculations, when you do formulas, all on the calci, and when you start getting correct answers, there's no better satisfaction than that. You're like, wow, I'm getting correct answers. That is so cool. But of course, just follow the basics. That's it. And be like, wow, I can't believe I cleared my paper. I'm like, of course.
Sir, are we going to receive these notes?
Yeah, you will receive these notes also. And today's notes, we have already shared everything. So other than this, when we start topics, you will see that along with class notes, you will be given material from textbooks. All that is applicable to you. All that is not applicable to you will be removed from these notes to save you time and effort. Okay, class?
Okay.
So it's 7. I should leave you all. If you have any questions, drop me a message. If you have any doubts, let me know. And about your next navigation class, probably I'll notify you. Now that you've got used to how notifications are held, I can see you've all got comfortable. If there's any issue, let me know. Okay. Students who have just joined us for the first time, if you have any questions or feedback, please let me know over WhatsApp, or we can schedule a call.
Sir, are we going to have daily class?
Yes, we will have daily sessions also, but not in the starting week. Starting will take it slow. Okay. But there will be times when you'll realize once we have picked up the pace, we will do navigation regularly. And after a few tests, it will be faster depending upon your performance. And instructions to students from the earlier batch. We are going to resume, okay, before we go on a Diwali break. So we'll try to wrap up. So yeah, I'll notify you on the group. Okay, group notification. And yeah, anything that goes to your mind, feel free to share with me. Next session onwards, we will start learning all the technical points that are important and that come in the examination. We'll be starting with the Earth. So we'll write down points about what is Earth, what is the compression ratio, all important points, Earth's diameter, this and that. And we'll start with understanding the Earth and directions. And then we'll simultaneously also start learning about air data instruments and radio navigation to keep you covered with all three elements as it goes. And the first thing after Earth that we'll master will be drift related questions and then directly radio related questions. So in your first 5 to 7 lectures, you will become 50% proficient with navigation and you'll be surprised. Positive. So that's the idea. Let's do it. If you need anything extra, let me know. Okay, everyone, I'll sign off. Enjoy. And please prepare a few positive aviation jokes to share after our break time. Okay, Sujal gave us a very good joke the other day and I really liked it. Okay. Fine. Take care, everyone. I'll see you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome,
you, sir.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.